Imagine taking to the road, starting in the moist lowlands of the Mississippi Valley, cradle of our planet's fourth largest river, winding up through tree-covered river bluffs, eroded by millions of years of flowing Mississippi River currents, on through the driftless region, land untouched by ice-aged glaciers. Landscape flattens as you traverse Iowa, showing off her endless array of soft rolling hills and twirling wind turbines. Big and puffy clouds under bright sunshine create shadowy patterns on patchwork farm fields. Nebraska greets, laid out immensely, big and flat before you. Miles and miles and miles of farmland. Prairies and pastures spread to the horizon in all directions. Joining your travels is the Platte River, flowing along, crisscrossing your highway as a large serpent, getting ever smaller as you move on, miles and miles westerly, a terrain ever so slowly rising during your Nebraska crossing. Entering Colorado, landscapes change, becoming arid. Hills become larger, pasture lands are boundless. Clouds appear, low on distant horizon, hanging, teasing before morphing into snow-capped distant Rocky Mountain peaks. Roads become winding, twisting, turning, climbing thousands of feet. Berthed Pass over 11,000 feet high is tonight's sunset destination. Looking down, you see, over walls of mountain ranges, marching off to distant horizons. Clouds roll, sliding and dancing along over ridges, spires, around mountain peaks, setting up for tonight's show.
I grew up on the west side of Chicago, in the city. My parents did not drive, and so if I was to go anywhere or wanted to do something, we or I had to you had three options: walk, ride your bike, or take public transportation. So the length of the journeys that I would go on was as far as the bus ran or the L ran. So you never got out of a city environment. I remember when I was, 11, 12, 13, somewhere in there, a couple of my friends and we took our bicycles and we rode to the end of Bloomingdale. I lived on Bloomingdale, so we just went west on Bloomingdale to see how far we could ride, just as a lark. If our parents would have found out, they would have just killed us. We drove out, and the first thing that impacted me was the culturally changing neighborhoods as we went out, and then we went through houses. They had round walls. It was you could tell rich people lived there, I suppose. And it ended at this place called Thatcher Woods. And it was a Cook County Forest Preserve outside of Chicago, a couple miles outside of Chicago. And I literally thought that's where the city ended and where wilderness started. I thought that's how it worked out. And a few years later, we rode our bikes out there again. We were bigger, and we rode to the other side of Thatcher Woods. Somebody knew how to get to the other side of Thatcher Woods, and it's like, oh, there's all these suburbs and stuff here, so I wasn't there. So that's a kind of like how I want to stretch myself out. When I was 19, I got my first car, a Mustang, and I took it home, washed it up, and I hopped on North Avenue, which ran west from my neighborhood, and just drove. Ended up in Sycamore, Illinois. It was like the coolest thing. Here I am by myself, I'm on the road, I'm going to these little towns. But it gave me an opening to what was to come.
Another day begins. You're winding along in a cathedral of towering mountain behemoths, often accompanied by splashing, babbling creeks and rivers. South into the sun becomes your direction, moving on along the front range of the Rockies, becoming ever smaller. Surroundings become more arid, starker, as you roll south into desert landscapes. Twisting and turning roads wind through immense ranches, morphing in and out. Eventually you turn, swinging westerly across Colorado's bottom. Small mountain ranges here and there touched by snow go by. Landscape becomes ethereal, colorfully painted by mineral deposits, exposed and sculpted by millenniums of snow and rain erosion. 1,000-foot mountain walls here, desolate open expanses there. Weaving along, you arrive, Mesa Verde.
Mesa Verde National Park, and we're at Park Point, and there's some incredible views going on, and there's some awesome storms taking place. So I'm going to go after and make photographs of some of these storms and try to explain to you what I'm going to accomplish here. Dean and I have been out since 5 o'clock this morning shooting. We're kind of going to work through sunset here. We got these monster clouds which are going to walk into the picture, so I'm going to use that as my right side composition. I've also got some light in the mountain range out there, which is going to help pull the eye across this dark area. I've got a little bit of light on a point here, but it looks like clouds are going to push that away. So it'll give me some nice leading lines straight to the bright stuff, which is just take your eye across and should hold you into the picture. We've been hanging out here at Mesa Verde National Park in Colorado and being totally blown away by its scenery. The vistas here are just incredible, as you can see here. The park's known for its Indian ruins and remnants of lost cultures, but I was totally surprised by the views that we have here. The best skies that I've seen in my life being outdoors and shooting. we're wrapping it up. We're going to pack up, and then we're off to Bryce Canyon in southern Utah tomorrow, and we're going to stop at Capitol Reef on the way through, spend the night there, do some sunset pictures on that national park, and then move on to Bryce for a few days.
Dawn opens, crisp, clear, and cool, revealing dark, shadowy mountains pointing and poking up at warm-colored skies with clouds tinged red. You're leaving Mesa Verde, heading off through Utah to Bryce Canyon National Park. Remote roads lead you through the Utah Mountains of Colorado, onto Utah's ethereal mountains, deserts, and canyons. Lands painted by amazing kaleidoscopes of color, impossible visuals of orange, red, white, green, and purple twist your mind as you travel. Terrain morphs and changes, passing mountainous piles of boulders, slabs, and other hunks of colorful carnage defying description. Zigging and zagging along through Natural Bridges National Monument.
Something that I ponder from time to time as I do art. Obviously, as we look back at old masters and stuff, they thought about where their stuff was going, whether they were hired guns, radicals, or propagandists, whatever they were for their pictures. I'm sure at points in time they thought about where their work, their name, their statement, what they're standing for, where it was going to go in the future world. There's a fragility and an insignificance of man. I really feel that when I'm shooting a composition, or I'm putting a composition together, which I think will come into play heavy when we hit Chaco Canyon coming up, but it's to demonstrate the insignificance of man in that moment. The sky, to make the man look small. I don't know, I'm trying to compile perfect moments.
Travel becomes lonesome. Roads are empty. Vehicles pass occasionally. Orange mountain outcrops touching lush green forests of pine, mimicking mighty sentinels. Castles in the sky waiting to repel Genghis Khan's Mongolian hordes. Suddenly your world turns pink and orange. Rocky hoodoos peek out, creeping up walls mimicking mischievous elves and trolls. Slicing on through, roads wind up and up. You top Bryce Canyon. Peering down a world of glowing pink and orange outcrops, steeples, battlements, pillars. Push out of lands, covered green by desert forests, intensifying huge panoramic views.
Here we are hanging out at this really cool arch, doing some real crazy things with reflected light. And we are scouting locations at Bryce Canyon today. Bryce Canyon has all kinds of interesting compositions within this big composition that they have going on with this entire canyon. So I try to shoot it big, but then I try to work on little vignettes of interest where you could dial into the canyon versus looking out so much. Kind of like bucking that out-looking trend that kind of goes on here. We have this archway here. It's a hole going straight down to a forest underneath it, and the back side of it is all lit with the sun coming in, bouncing off of this wall, and then bouncing back at that wall, just making this crazy soft light. It shows off all these textures. I don't quite know how to describe it, almost like palette knife painting in an oil painting or something like that. To verbalize it, it's really hard to say, because I actually go into a zone. I mean, there's a lot of parts that go into the composition. I want to show you the romance of nature. I want to show you her textures. I want to show you her spirit. I want to show you her attitude, from stillness of water that makes a mirror to the violence of water that turns her into a beast. I want to deliver any of those nuances to you in the process of making a picture. She has leading lines. She delivers with the way she points her trees, the way her creeks flow across the photograph. There's a reason, there's a dominant impression in there somewhere that I want you to see and become part of that picture, become part of that moment that I was trying to create.
High elevation, darkness greets. Pre-dawn air is chilled. Skies sliced by meteors, pinpricked by bright stars and planets begin to pale, showing color in quiet stillness. Your Bryce Canyon departure leads you, winding through darkness surrounded by shadowed and silhouetted forests. Highway continues to wind as elevations grade down, dropping into desert landscapes. Beauty abounds. Distant low barriers appear, growing in size, looming larger on approach. Miles fall by, getting you closer, reaching higher, 1,000 feet up. Beautiful layers of color fill your vision. Spaces wide open, above a foreground of yellow desert under a sweeping vista of clouded sky. Mesa's tower soaring above bright red desert sand, dotted with green sage. Your drive climbs straight at them, arrays of monstrous castles. You've entered Monument Valley's realm.
Tree trunks and rainbows, fur balls and flowers, displaying their beauty with fragrance and colors. He quickly dismisses these natural treasures, all his devices devoted to his own pleasure. Laying concrete, running miles of wires, an elaborate scheme to achieve his desires. He'll conquest and blitzkrieg till there's no more land, with the same strategy of his own fellow man.
Rumbling off, you begin a wild climb to top Hunt's Mesa, lording 1,700 feet above Monument Valley's Navajo Nation. Tame gravel roads cross ranches as potholes begin appearing, becoming larger and deeper, turning to small craters. Gravel turns to soft sand, gas pedal floored, churning, spewing, spinning, sliding desperately as not to dig in, lurching up red slick rock, climbing on, crashing, wheeling around boulders, rock slides, outcrops, skidding across broken gravel, roaring past rocky obstacles, on barely discernible tracks, seeming impossible. Walls are attacked, launching you straight up at blue skies. 2 hours later, beat up you arrive, Hunt's Mesa's top. Views are incredible, peering down on hundreds of miles across Monument Valley.
the flow of how I guess art channeled through me, or how I followed art to make it meaningful in my life, to be a producer of it. I'd have to go back to when I was a kid. I had an uncle, Uncle Jack. He was like a beatnik. He had his own bongo drums, a white t-shirt with cigarettes rolled up in the sleeve and stuff. He would come to our house, and when he would hang out, he was my mom's brother. When he would hang out, he would draw. He was always drawing. He was like a real good artist. So we would sit there and watch him draw. And that had a big impact on me, and I would try to draw and replicate the pictures he drew. And then when I was in 3rd grade, I had a teacher. She would spend the lunch hour drawing a real cool chalk picture on the blackboard. And then for the afternoon, it was like an art afternoon, my favorite time of the week. And we would have to copy that picture. So I guess it really didn't show you how to draw, but I guess it showed you how to look objectively at something. You got a picture, and I guess it subjects you to interpretation, which on her end probably had to be pretty cool. If there's 30 kids in the class, there probably had to be 30 different kinds of pictures that turned up. And then from there, when I was in 5th grade, my parents got money together, and on the recommendation of my art teacher, she suggested that I take some classes at the Art Institute of Chicago, which was totally mind-boggling at that time, because we really didn't get out and around. I mean, we would go shopping. My parents didn't drive, so we would have to take buses and L's and stuff to shopping districts in Chicago. And the idea of going downtown and going to the Art Institute really rocked my socks. I really didn't know the Art Institute at all. And my mom took me down maybe the 1st or 2nd time. We used to have to take a bus and then an L all the way down to downtown Chicago. And I'm 10 years old. And then like the 3rd time, it's like, okay, here's the money. You just go ahead and go. So I would go down there and get there like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning when the museum opened. And I would wander the halls of the Art Institute for several hours until my class started in the afternoon. And I think that had a big impact on my ability to see, and just being in an immersion like that. Because I would just wander the halls by myself, 10 years old. I don't know if that would be allowed today, but just totally looking at 20-foot paintings by the masters and stuff. So that had huge impact on me, and I continued to excel in art. Photography started to come into play around then. My father had a real cool Kodak camera. We had to do slide rule calculations on the back to figure out exposure, but he used to take a lot of family pictures with that. And then it was a cool camera or a cool piece of machinery to see him with. I got a camera right about that time as a birthday present. That was then the Magic Cube candles for flashes and stuff, and that kind of got the deal going. we are, Monument Valley. It's about noonish after spending a killer night sleeping under the stars. Our ride up here, we're at 1,700 feet. And to put that into perspective, the Sears building in Chicago is like 1,400 feet. We're 300 feet higher than that, looking at this. So to get up here required a 2.5 hour four-wheel drive ride, which 3 or 4 times on the way up, we thought we were gonna be walking up. Got us up here, got us to a lookout. We shot through sunset, which was totally cool. I haven't been to Monument where I've got clouds, and we had clouds last night, made it great. It's sort of a self-cleansing. You talk about senses, it encapsulates all your senses. You see it, you can hear the wind. Actually last night it was dead still, and you could hear it coming roaring up from wherever it was coming from. You can taste the dryness in the air. You can smell the spices of the plants around here that are blooming, and you can touch the grittiness. It's a dusty, sandy place.
Downward, ribs of slick rock are crossed, twisting your ride one way, then another. Ancient Indian ruins are past, tucked in pockets here, cliff faces there. Onward you go crashing down, sliding through soft, deep sand. Engine roaring, bouncing airborne wildly across rocky holes. 2 hours later, things smoothed to gravel roads crossing rangeland. On out to the highway. Goodbyes and thank yous are exchanged. Off rolling again you go. Chaco Canyon's your next stop.
She's been crying, yeah. Tortured by the ignorance of man, yeah.
I guess, an artist is a 24/7 undertaking. It's not just when you step up to a paint easel or a Lightroom monitor or what have you. It's as an artist, you're impacting all the time, even when you don't have your preferred medium in your hand. We speak, we write, we communicate, and I think in those communications, if they can have them all compiled together, which is what Dean and I are doing on this trip to the desert. Overall, if I I can deliver that kind of an impact, deliver that kind of a change, deliver that kind of emotion. As an artist, we mold our mediums, and our job is to deliver emotion. I think this is just a bigger manner of delivering this emotion. Being 100 years old, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to deliver emotion. So, I mean, that's what it's all about, taking that opportunity. I guess a certain amount of gratefulness has to come into play, being thankful for what you got, not what you don't got. And I mean, this vibe that's been going the last week is a good piece to exhibit that. Just the fact that Dean approached me to go on this thing, it's just a cool experience, and hopefully this film exhibits that, and everybody who's watching it, it pluses them up somehow, makes them think a tad bit differently, whether it's negative or positive. If it ups your game, then my job was completed.
Traveling home, the flatlands of Kansas, your mind wanders. 3 weeks of color, texture, and skies. The roads stretch forever. You roll thousands of images, Dante's Inferno, for 15 minutes at a time. The wheat grows tall and dry, closer to home. Rearview mirror, a film, a camera, a window. Looking back, adventures planned and conquered. Mountain passes, desert sands, valleys, gorges, and ancient ruins. Anticipation, the likeness, the illustration, the form, sharing my intimate perception with you. Shelter from the road, home at last. The journey begins, riding the light.